Hi, welcome to a Talk with Ted. We're glad that you're with us today. And we've been talking about how to raise children or how to deal with children in the household, especially since everybody has been kind of confined with COVID-19. It's loosening up a little bit now, but still we're dealing with the stresses of that. And so we began talking about that last week, Ted. Maybe you could just do a little review for those who may have missed some of that.
Yeah, we're kind of forced now to live closer together, and I think that can be complicated in our relationships. And I want to find a way to include my children in the process. Now, my children are adults, so I can't do that anymore, but at one point I did that.
Yeah.
And I developed this strategy of a family meeting. A lot of preparation ahead of time. My wife and I sitting down and saying, what are we looking to do here? What are we trying to accomplish in this? And then trying to get the buy-in from our kids, what we're trying to do. Set up some guidelines of what we're looking for, maybe chores, maybe, and one thing I failed to mention the last week would be, at the end of the week, we have to have some type of reward. I'd like to really, I'd really like to lay that ahead of time, so if they know that they're going to, at the end of the week, they're going to go and buy a video, if that's the case, or maybe it's a month before they buy the video, or whatever the case may be. That can be very, very helpful.
Okay.
So when you sit down with them, you really discuss what you're looking for and let them have some participation in that, what they would like to do. What I did one time was say to my son, he didn't agree with what I was suggesting. I said, okay, so you're the father, I'm the son, what would you suggest? And he said, nothing. I said, really? That's not very responsible as a father to say I have no consequences. I like the word consequences rather than punishment.
Yeah.
And then he came up with some consequences that were a little harsher than I would have had. So I kind of backed off and said, okay, let's try this. And I think that was very helpful for him and for me to listen to what his perspective of that was.
Now, you don't want to do that every time.
No, there's times that you can, there's got to be some rules in the house, and you have to establish that, but try to get that buy-in from the kids of what that looks like. It can be really, really helpful.
I think that goes back to that verse in Proverbs that says, train up a child. So the emphasis is on train up. In other words, the word is discipline, really.
Yeah, that's right.
So discipline your child so that they'll go in the way that God created them to go.
And
so that's what we're talking about.
And that hits the Ephesians chapter 6 where it says that discipline instruction in the Lord. There has to be some discipline in a family.
Yeah.
If not, we have chaos. And I think that's a concern that I have as well, that we don't have chaos. We want to have that. And then I suggested too, maybe the 3-strike rule. Strike 1, that's the warning. Strike 2, you know what's coming next. And strike 3, no talk back.
Okay.
We've already agreed that this is what's going to happen if you don't do what we've agreed on. And that can be a very helpful thing too. I think the main point that I want to get across is that the family meeting is really to have the kids to buy into the process and to have an opportunity to put their input into it. But they're not running the show. Remember that. It's got to be working together. Teaching and discipline need to go together. Teaching is a part of me understanding, or to me explaining to them what is expected. The discipline is coming along when it doesn't happen. And that teaching also talks about spiritual teaching, and that's why I feel that it's a good opportunity for us as a church to come alongside you as a parent and say, okay, what can we help you with? Right. And actually, Mrs. Heather and I are talking about maybe doing a workshop this fall and just bringing parents in and let's have a workshop talking about how you do it, and maybe we gain from each other. That's a thought. If that's something you'd like, I'd like to hear back from you, and if that would be something to be helpful.
Hey, could I take a quick rabbit trail?
Sure.
Because I think we get this mixed up. Could you describe the difference between discipline and punishment?
Discipline. I think it always should be discipline. Punishment is not what I want to. I don't want them to look at it as a punishment. I want to look at it as understanding that I'm trying to teach you how to grow up as a mature adult. And the discipline says, okay, this is happening, and this can be a positive situation in their life. Punishment is a negative thing. And I don't want it to be a negative. I want it to be positive. How can I learn from this experience so that I grow from where I am to where I need to be in my life?
Okay, that's helpful.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's helpful because we hear the two interchanged, in terms of description, and I don't think they are the same.
No, I don't think so either. I think if we can get to that point, it can be really helpful.
Yeah.
See, my point is I want to raise kids that are godly kids.
Yeah.
I want to say to you as a parent, don't tell your kid he's bad,
Right.
or don't tell the kid that he's stupid.
Right.
Because in anger we do that. It's not the child, it's the behavior we're trying to change.
Right.
So if I can say, I love you, that's not a very good behavior,
Mm-hmm.
because if you keep telling a kid that he's bad, or use the word stupid, which I don't like, but they grow up thinking, okay, I'm not worthy.
Right.
I'm not worthy.
Right.
I want to say to my child, you are worthy,
Mhm.
but you have to understand there's some certain
Yeah.
rules in our house that can be helpful.
Yeah. Every child is born in the image of God
Yep.
with a sin nature.
That's right.
And yet they're a clean slate.
Yep.
And so our job is to direct their life.
That's right.
Right? In a godly way.
So balance it. Balance praise. When your child is doing what is expected, make sure you note that and make sure you
Right.
say that. This is good. Because many times the kids see us just saying, okay, all I'm doing is getting disciplined for something I've done that I shouldn't have done. But I need to
Right.
balance it with praise and discipline. And I
Right.
think that can
Yeah.
be very, very
Yeah,
helpful.
that's good.
I love you. I want it's a behavioral issue. It's not
Mhm.
you as a person that I want to focus on, and
Mhm.
that can be very, very helpful. Focus on the positive nature of your kids.
Hmm.
Look for the
Yeah.
strengths that they have, and work to build on those strengths. I just spent a few minutes with two kids playing hockey, and I wanted to just come across with that opportunity to engage with them for a few minutes, but
Mhm.
just to allow them to feel appreciated, if I can say that.
Uh-huh.
And I think that can be helpful
And
as well.
valued.
Valued.
Yeah.
And your kids are different. As we close this off, I want to say, my children, a boy and a girl, adults now, as I said before, but they're treated equally,
Mm-hmm.
but discipline is different because of the character of the child.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter was a homebody. She would go to a room and read a book, and she'd be happy. So for
Yeah.
me to discipline her would be say, go out and make friends. Okay. And for my son, he'd be out there making friends, so I'd say, go to your room.
Right.
And that would be like, sorry, Dad. No.
Uh-huh.
There is a time period, and the time period is a half hour.
Mhm.
Go and think about what you did. Come back. Let's talk about that, and let's find a way to do that.
Yeah.
That can be very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Be careful. Be careful that you don't emphasize one over the other.
Mhm.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard because I could throw a football with my son. I needed to find something to do with my daughter.
Right.
For me, it was a date night after school.
Mhm.
Go out and go to McDonald's or go to the mall. Those
Mhm.
kind of things can be very, very helpful.
Mhm.
If you have 4 or 5 or 6 kids, I know that's a challenge. But I
Mhm.
think dads, particularly, moms are there almost 24/7.
Yeah.
But dads particularly need to find that time to
Right.
spend individual time with their
Yeah.
kids and say,
Yeah.
you're important to me.
Yeah, put it in your calendar.
Yep.
Schedule it. You have
Mhm.
to schedule that time,
Yep.
and otherwise it's not going to happen.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And I liked what you said about you have to find the strength in your children, and that's going to be different because God created them differently,
That's right.
and they all have strengths, and we have to look for that. That as a parent, that's our job to look for that, and then to develop that strength. Right.
That's right. And then complement that on that strength
Right.
and let them know that you appreciate that effort that they're making in that area.
Mhm.
Be excellent opportunity for us to spend time with our kids and growing that relationship.
Very good. I hope this has been helpful for you to talk about some of these issues. And if you have questions about that, as Ted said, you can write to him at the email that is at the bottom of the screen, and he'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you so much for helping us with this issue.
Good. See you next week.
Okay, bye.